What's up, everyone? Welcome to part 2 of my How to Tank series, How I Tank. Part 1 was controlling the battlefield. Went over method dungeon tools and how to pull, what to look out for, situational awareness, stuff like that. This is part 2. This is what I like to call the ebb and the flow, or the rhythm of the combat. Basically maintaining a smooth dungeon run, you know, pulling after pulling after pulling. The good thing about tanking is that, you know, like I've always said, you get to dictate the flow of the battle. You control, for the most part, what gets pulled, what doesn't get pulled. Now, each situation is going to be different. You know, when you first get into a dungeon, you're going to have to look at how they heal, how your healer's healing. You're going to have to take a look at the DPS. Is your healer, you know, running around DPSing? Are they really trying to help out? You know, if so, that's a good thing. That's, you know that the healer wants to not so much hurry up, but, you know, they want a good steady pace. You want a good flow of pulls. Well, another thing I always try to look out for is when you look at your DPS, you got some super DPS going on? I mean, if you do, then if you don't pull enough, then they're gonna get bored, you know, and they might start pulling mobs for you. And it's gonna happen, you know, no matter what. Just don't be one of them people that say, you know, you tank what you pull, and just be a dick about it, because that's just gonna mess up the run for everyone, you know. And you don't want to do that. You want to do a smooth run, you know, somewhat of a fast one, depending on everyone's gear and all this stuff. And just if they pull, just taunt it, you know, aggro it, and get everything back under control. Now, of course, that if you have a hunter who's always misdirecting, well then, hey, there you go, good on you. You're just helping you out, and there's nothing wrong with that. And of course, these guides are geared toward, you know, newer tanks and stuff like that. So one thing I also like to add is, you know, don't be afraid of tanking. The worst thing that they could do is kick you from the group, but they're never gonna kick you from the group. You know, most people are gonna be like, hey tank, you should do this, or hey tank, you should do that, or go this way. You know, if you're getting lost in a dungeon, no, this way, not, you know, whatever, what have you. The good thing is you will know your group dynamic within the first few pulls of a dungeon, within the first few big pulls of a dungeon, mind you. You'll know if your DPS is light, if your healer is, you know, not up to par. Now, of course, you know, you as a tank should be putting up enough self-mitigation and enough self-heals to where the healer shouldn't have to be popping cooldowns every trash pack to save you. If that's the case, then, you know, you're severely undergeared, and you should be doing lower keys, or, you know, taking a look at your talents and your builds, and maybe make yourself a little bit beefier. What I tend to come to realize is that, because I DPS, I heal, I tank, the more I know about every other role, it makes me a better tank or a better player. Especially like knowing affixes of dungeons like sanguine and positioning and it's stuff like that, because I mean, think about it. Your job as a tank is to mitigate and take pretty much all incoming damage for the group, and to also place mobs to where your DPS can do their job and DPS the mobs down. Because your goal is to not DPS. Your goal is to get punched in the face repeatedly over and over and over and over. Now, of course, bar corruption, you're going to do some DPS. Yeah, sure. The more DPS you can do, the more the more helpful it is. Definitely. This video is going to be a little bit different from my other videos. The other ones were a little bit more structured. This one I'm just rambling on. Just talking about my thought process as I'm going around tanking keys and stuff like that. I think one of the best things you could do as a tank to keep things smoothly is to position the mobs to where your group can always have access to, where your group can always just cleave them down. Like I said, DPS's job is a DPS. So if after the first few pulls, you're seeing that you got some awesome DPS and you're pretty beefy, or your healer is just doing a superb job, then you might want to start looking into doing some chain pulls, pulling 2, 3, 4 packs together and getting your DPS to just burn them all down. You can do this, definitely in like heroic dungeons. You can easily do it in heroic dungeons, but I'm talking more like Mythic Plus related. If you chain pull, just remember to always be aware of what Mythic weak affix it is. If it's something like teaming, bowstring, you might not be able to pull as much as you want. If it's bursting, you definitely cannot just go around pulling incredibly large packs of mobs, because they would just, your DPS would be able to kill them fast enough, but you're just gonna die because the stacks are bursting. But bar the bad affixes of the week, if you find yourself with a good affix, like teaming, quaking, or something like that, feel free to pull as much as you think you're able to handle, And of course, this is dependent on knowing yourself, knowing your cooldowns, and also knowing your knowing your healer's limitations. Another key indicator if your healer is struggling a little bit is if they're drinking after every pull. If they're drinking after every pull, then hey, you're not beefy enough, or then the healer might not be geared enough, or you and the healer and DPS just happen to be at that very sweet spot where everyone is like what I like to call perfectly geared for the dungeon, as in if you're running a certain key and everyone's eye level is, you know, under that key's eye level, you know, so that all drops can be an upgrade, or a really good upgrade, then you know you're basically you're doing a harder than normal dungeon, you know, and you're geared, you're tuned just about right. Sometimes, you know, sometimes that happens, and in them situations, you know, you still want to time the key, and you still got to pull generously. So in situations such as that, you know, try to always be self-aware. Try to take a look at the healer's mana, you know, before pulling. Let the healer drink. You know, most heals try to get to at least, you know, 60-70% back up, and then they want you to pull. So just, you know, be cognitive of that. The one thing you always want to do is pull in a manner in which you know you're not going to pretty much wipe the party. And you know, that sounds so simple, you know, but at the same time, you know, you're wanting to pull enough to where the DPS isn't getting bored. You want to pull enough to where the healer isn't getting bored, but you don't want to over pull, you know. So what really helps is, you know, one, knowing the dungeon, using, you know, method dungeon tools, or just running the dungeon repeatedly on lower levels, on normal, heroic, or mythic zeros or mythic ones, you know. Know what the mobs do, you know. Know what mobs you can CC, know what mobs you can grip, know what mobs you can that druid ability where it blows them away, you know. So you always want to maintain that rhythm. Another thing that also helps is chain pull. You know, I said it before, to certain, you know, mythic weeks you can chain pull, but chain pulling is not just for grouping large packs of mobs together. Chain pulls in dungeons, when you're on a pull and you have most, if not all, the mobs down to less than 20%. Well, you know, you have so much aggro threat on the mobs that if you leave, you know, they're not going to just turn and start attacking your party members. So, you know, at or about 20%, 10%, whatever you think your DPS can handle, just take off and go pull another pack. That way your DPS is sitting there DPSing the mobs, and you're on a fresh pack, building threat, building aggro, grouping them up, positioning them so that your DPS can just, you know, go from one spot to another spot and just continuously be killing stuff. Now, of course, that depends also on knowing how much you can self-heal. If you are comfortable enough to where you know you can just go and pull another group, you know, and heal yourself and survive long enough, then yeah, do it. But that also depends on your own self-awareness. You know, how tanky are you? How much can you self-heal? How much damage can you mitigate? You know, if you're a warrior. I tanked with pretty much all classes except for monk. And they all got, you know, pros and cons and what have you. but the key is to, you know what you can do. You know, as long as you have yourself down, then you can just chain pull, keep people in, you know, keep people going. You want the thing is you want to try and keep that rhythm, keep it constantly going to where you can easily one chest, two chest things, you know, and that's what it's about. Doing a dungeon fast enough, and smooth enough to where DPS doesn't get bored, healers don't get bored, and I know I'm just repeating a lot of this, but really, it's, you know, it's important, because that's what that's how you have a smooth run. You know your limitations. Chain pull. Look at your group. How much DPS are they pumping out? Is your healer struggling? Is your healer struggling to keep up? Know the dungeon. Know the mobs. Let me see. Did I leave anything else out? And you know, I mean, tanking is probably the funnest part of dungeons for me, anyway. DPS is good. Don't get me wrong. DPS is good. But tanking, oh, I love it. I love it. Healing, probably healing is my second favorite thing to do. And another thing is, like, you know, people are gonna mess up. People are gonna get knocked into other packs, other mobs. You know, just expect it. Don't get angry. Don't get whatever. Just expect it. You know, have a cooldown readily available. Always try and have a avenue out. Like if you're in this situation, if the mobs are just sitting in a puddle of sanguine and you don't have a death knight to grip them out, or if you don't have a druid to blow them out, then LOS them. The LOS is a forgotten tank skill that I've run across. LOSing is an awesome old school skill that I think people don't utilize enough of. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. I know I meant to have like a quick 10-minute video, but the rhythm of the combat and the ebb and flow of the battlefield is very important. You, the tank, dictate the attitude of the party. Really, I mean, you do, because you know you're the leader. If you have a bad attitude, you're just gonna make everyone else have a bad attitude. So, you know, just kind of go with the flow. Just remember, every party is going to be different. Use like add-ons like details, damage meters, so you can see how much your healer's healing, how much your DPS is DPSing, and just go with it. I'm going to end it there. That's going to be part 2. The ebb and the flow and the rhythm of the combat. Part 3 is just, you know, tying it all together. I don't know when I'm going to do that. It'll be out soon. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. Everyone out there, stay safe, stay healthy, happy gaming. See you around. Thanks.